You know, I've loved Pokemon ever since I first played Red and Blue in 1998, but in all my years of being the very best, I had never done a Nuzlocke challenge. Well, it's time to change that. For those unaware, the Nuzlocke challenge is a self-imposed set of rules that players have started using to make the Pokemon games more difficult and random. There are 3 mandatory rules. You can only catch the first Pokemon you see in each area. If you accidentally KO that Pokemon, well, you're out of luck. You can't catch another one in that specific area. If a Pokemon faints, it is dead, forever, period. You have to go to the PC and release it. And the last rule that you'll see on every single Nuzlocke challenge is you have to nickname all of your Pokemon. Nicknaming your Pokemon strengthens your bond with it and makes their untimely, inevitable death hurt even more. I decided to add a couple more rules just to make it more challenging. After naming my rival Fate, my run officially begins. Professor Oak decides to abduct a child and we get to choose a free Pokemon. I choose Squirtle and I name him Remlazar. The first battle of the game is a losable one. However, my rival wastes too many turns and I'm able to tackle him down for the win. On the first route, we encountered our very first Pokemon, a Pidgey. It's exactly what I was hoping for. It should be simple to weaken him and then catch. Oh my. Oh man, if this Pokeball doesn't catch him, I might be dead. Okay. Whew. Close calls already. After naming our feathered friend Bobo, we stepped into the bushes on Route 22 and we found another friend, a Mankey. After catching her, I decided to name her Sidekick. Now with 3 good Pokemon, I wanted to grind a few levels before proceeding into Viridian Forest. I got Remlazar to level 10 and it was Bobo's turn. My arrogance would soon be my downfall, however, as Bobo was hit with an earth-shattering critical hit. Sidekick was able to come in and finish the battle, but the damage had been done. Struck down before his life even began, Bobo was not ready to be out there, and I shouldn't have forced him to. After watching her brother-in-arms fall, Sidekick went on a killing spree. I'd never seen her like this before. After grinding a few levels for Sidekick, I decided to fight the rival before heading to Viridian Forest. It proved to be uneventful as the 1-2 punch of Remlazar and Sidekick proved to be too much for him. In Viridian Forest, I again was hoping to get lucky and find a Pikachu, but I had to settle for a Weedle. I named her Wendy and continued through the forest. Once we reached Brock, Remlazar used his intense bubble powers to dominate the rock-hard Pokemon trainer and claim our first gym badge. After which, Remlazar underwent an extreme metamorphosis to become stronger. Continuing on with our journey, I bubbled on this lady's Jigglypuffs. Giggity. Afterwards, I encountered a sparrow. I was able to catch the sparrow and I decided to name him Pecker. Inside Mount Moon, I quickly ran into a Zubat and recruited him into the militia. He became known as Batman, a name which is 100% original and nobody has ever used or thought of before. Once I got to Cerulean City, I went ahead and fought my rival. Once again, Remlazar's imagination proved to be too strong and my rival was no match. As I was making my way across Nugget Bridge, I was trying to spread out the experience points to some of my lower leveled friends. Unfortunately, I made the mistake of thinking Batman could go toe-to-toe with a higher level Mankey. That was pretty unfortunate, but mistakes do happen. I'm ready to move on. After releasing Batman's corpse, I returned to north of Nugget Bridge in hopes of grinding a few quick levels again, but this time without losing any of my friends. Trying to make haste, I accidentally left Pecker in harm's way and a gust rattled his bones. Already making a lot of mistakes. I feel like this run is going well. It was back down to Wendy, Remlazar, and Sidekick. I really don't want to use Weedle, so basically Remlazar and Sidekick. I think it's funny how the game makes a big deal out of Bill creating the PC, but nobody talks about the fact that he can turn humans into Pokemon and vice versa. What the fuck? That is way more interesting than a personal computer. After getting the SSN ticket from Bill, I paid Misty a visit. Staryu and Starmie were bitten to death in no time at all. On the way to Vermilion City, I found a new friend, Oddish, and I named him Seth Rogen because of reasons. While farming some XP for Sidekick, I ran into some rough luck, missing several attacks in a row and then being killed by a Gust. Man, Gust is really proving to be my Achilles heel on this run. Having lost my beloved fighting-type monkey, I wanted to bolster my team for the upcoming electric gym, so I went into Diglett Cave. I was able to convince a Diglett to join the crusade, and I dubbed her Pop-Tart. I decided Diglett Cave would be a great place to train Seth Rogen. What? What happened? Oh, magnitude 10. For those unaware, when you use the move Magnitude, it will randomly be one of 7 different magnitudes. Each magnitude has a different power level and different chances of occurring. Magnitude 10 is the strongest and only has a 5% chance of occurring whenever you use the move Magnitude. It also has an insane 150 base power, which was getting further boosted by Diglett being the same type as Magnitude. To make a long story short, Seth Rogen got fucked. After burying yet another friend, we hopped aboard the SSN to get the HM for Cut. Of course, fate was waiting for us just like a stalker. Again, the battle proved to be easy as Remlazar melted his steel beams. After I rubbed a random man's back, something I would never do in real life, I was given the HM for Cut. I ended up teaching Cut to Pop-Tart because Remlazar's move slots are too valuable. I started battle with Lieutenant Surge, and as you might expect, he was a complete pushover. He should really consider diversifying his team since, you know, he can't beat a Diglett and his gym is right next to Diglett Cave. On my way to Rock Tunnel, the crusade once again grew. This time, it was a Voltorb, which I named Ralph. Rock Tunnel was boring and not really worth showing much. Remlazar had no trouble gunning through the rock types. At level 36, Remlazar underwent another radical physical transformation and achieved maximum power. Once I reached Lavender Town, we healed up and I wanted to grind a couple levels for Ralph since I didn't get to level him much inside of Rock Tunnel. However, Ralph was given a rough lesson in capitalism. Unlike GameStop, Ralph did not go burr and was dead. Feeling disappointed in myself, I made it to Celadon City and decided to grab the free Eevee, which I nicknamed Zapped. In hindsight, a Flareon might have been a better choice, but Jolteon was always my favorite, so I went with him. From there, I decided that I wanted to be like my dad and spend too much time at the gambling machines. The goal was getting Thunderbolt for Zapped, which I was able to do after a few minutes. Wanting to further bolster my forces again, I took on the Fighting Gym in Saffron City. After shocking Hitmonlee, I switched to Rimlazar and was frozen by an Ice Punch. I believed in the power of Rimlazar and we quickly thawed out and I won the battle. I decided to take Hitmonchan, knowing that his elemental punches would prove helpful to me even though they were not physical type attacks until Generation 4. I decided to name him Mike Tyson. After learning the elemental punches, I decided to fight Erica. Ice Punch did a little less than half of her Victory Bell's life total and she paralyzed Mike Tyson with Stun Spore. We traded blows for a moment and I decided to bring in Zapped. He made quick work of Victory Bell and of Tangela. Erica then sent out Vileplume and she paralyzed Zapped with Stun Spore. After a couple turns, I sent out Rimlazar, who despite a type disadvantage was 9 levels higher. I played it a little risky for as long as I could before Rimlazar was facing certain death and I needed to switch Pokemon again. It was starting to get scary now. I sent out Pop-Tart not knowing if she was going to live or not. Luckily, she used Acid and then missed with a Stun Spore, allowing me to win the fight. From there, I went into the game corner to clear out Team Rocket and Giovanni. I was grinding experience for Mike Tyson, who had just recently learned Sky Uppercut. Needless to say, he outboxed all of Giovanni's Pokemon easily for the win. Once I obtained the Poké-Flute, I woke up Snorlax with the hopes of adding the Gentle Giant to my team. But I rolled a pretty high magnitude and ended up killing her. Whoops. Upon arriving at Fuchsia City, I headed straight for the Safari Zone to get Surf, which I quickly taught to Rimlazar. Upon obtaining the HM for Strength, I realized that Rimlazar and Mike Tyson were my only 2 Pokemon that could learn it. Not wanting to waste one of their move slots on Strength, I went west of Fuchsia City and ran into Eradicate. Luckily, I was able to catch the Eradicate and I named him Ekans Food. With that taken care of, I decided to fight Koga. The battle itself was not terribly exciting. I led with Zapped and eventually switched to Pop-Tart and finally to Rimlazar. I played it very safe in this fight. I had no real scares or close calls. Unfortunately, I had no Pokemon that could fly, so I had to bike all the way back up from Fuchsia City to Saffron. At this point, I was starting to get more confident. I haven't had a casualty in a little while and my team was getting stronger. I was making a lot of dumb mistakes earlier in the run, but now it was starting to get easier and I didn't think I would lose another Pokemon. It was time to go through Silphco, and that meant another battle with my rival Fate. Pidgeot and Gyarados were both one-shot by Thunderbolt. Upon leveling up, I decided to replace Quick Attack with Thunder Wave because the paralysis should come in handy at some point. For Growlithe, I decided to switch to Pop-Tart and let him dig Growlithe's grave. Fate then sent out Venusaur, and this is where things take a dark turn. I switched to Mike Tyson because I wanted to see how much damage Ice Punch would do to the Venusaur. Razor Leaf did a little less than half of Hitmonchan's HP, so I was feeling pretty safe. Ice Punch unfortunately only did about 30% or more of Venusaur's life. Venusaur then put Mike Tyson to sleep with Sleep Powder. I thought that since I could survive 2 more Razor Leaves, I would try to wake up and hit him with another Ice Punch. Unfortunately, the second Razor Leaf critically hit, and Mike Tyson was KO'd. I contemplated for a moment on what to do. I thought about sending out Ekans food, but decided to send out Zapped and paralyze the Venusaur with Thunder Wave. After successfully paralyzing Venusaur, he retaliated by putting Zap to sleep with Sleep Powder. I fail to wake up, and then Venusaur hits me with a Razor Leaf, and oh my goodness! Zapped barely survived that critical hit. Now it was time to send out Ekans food, because if I was going to lose another Pokemon in this battle, I would prefer it to be him. Fortunately, Venusaur missed with his Razor Leaf. I was able to hit Venusaur with a Hyper Fang, and then Venusaur was paralyzed for the turn. I was able to hit Venusaur with a second Hyper Fang before Venusaur put me to sleep. I tried to wake up and I eat a Razor Leaf, which did about 60% of my HP. Having done better than I expected him to, I decided to withdraw Ekans food and switch to Remlazar. It was time to finish this fight with Remlazar. Remlazar was hit by a Razor Leaf on the switch, and it did just under half of his life total. I decided that I would go for it, hoping to outspeed and kill Venusaur or for him to be fully paralyzed. I did go faster and I hit with a Mega Punch. Unfortunately, it did not kill Venusaur and he retaliated with a Razor Leaf. Critical hit. I had just lost my best Pokemon. Defeated, I sent out Pop-Tart, hoping that my run doesn't end right here. I don't know if the rival uses items in these battles, but thankfully he didn't heal his Venusaur and Pop-Tart was able to outspeed and take it out. Pop-Tart then went on to take out Alakazam with a combination of Dig and Magnitude. I graciously accepted the Lapras from a Silphco employee and I named him Chungus. At least one silver lining is I was able to quickly get another decent Pokemon that could use Surf. I had defeated my rival, but the cost of victory was so steep that it felt like a loss. I had lost my strongest Pokemon, my best friend Remlazar, as well as Mike Tyson. After releasing them to the Netherworld, I returned to Silphco to finish the job against Giovanni. Zapped was able to take out Nidorino with Thunderbolts, and Giovanni sent out Nidoqueen. I decided to switch to Pop-Tart because the ground moves will be super effective. I took out Nidoqueen with 2 digs and then Giovanni sent out Kangaskhan. I hit Kangaskhan with a dig and was hit back by a Mega Punch. That critically hit it and killed me. Another critical hit? I sent out Chungus, who was 10 levels lower, which I admit is not a good move, but I was getting kind of frustrated. Kangaskhan used Rage, which was good for me, but then he hit me with a Mega Punch. Damn, that was close. I definitely didn't want to lose Chungus here. I switched to Ekans food and hoped for the best. And the best is what I got, as Kangaskhan hurt herself in confusion, and then Hyper Fang finished her off. Giovanni's last Pokemon is Rhyhorn. And while I really wish I could still use Chungus to fight the Rhyhorn, I ended up switching to Zapped. Zapped did still know Double Kick, which did decent damage against Rhyhorn. Rhyhorn used Rock Blast, which wasn't too scary, and then he used Stomp, which critically hit again. Jesus, if Zapped had died there, I probably would have just destroyed my cartridge. I decided to level Chungus a bit before proceeding to Cinnabar Island. On Route 21, I stopped and encountered a Tangela, which I was able to catch. I decided to name him Slipknot. On Cinnabar Island, I quickly went into the Pokemon Mansion with the hopes of encountering a Growlithe. No such luck though. I had to settle for a Grimer, who I named Peggy. Once I felt confident in Chungus's level, I took on Blaine's gym. This turned out to be the right move as Blaine was a cakewalk. Chungus one-shot all of Blaine's Pokemon with Surf, though to be fair, Arcanine would have probably lived if I didn't critically hit. After the victory, Bill makes you go to the Sevi Islands and fight a biker gang. I climbed on Mount Ember and found a Ponyta. After catching her, I decided to name her Horns. My team at this time was Zapped, the level 43 Jolteon, Chungus, the level 45 Lapras, Ekans Food, the level 29 Raticate, Slipknot, the level 18 Tangela, Peggy, the level 28 Grimer, and Horns, the level 30 Ponyta. Oh, and I also caught a Tentacool and I named it Calamity because I was still upset about losing Remlazar. Calamity was sent to the PC for now. I stayed in Sevi Islands for a little while, grinding, and then I went back to fight Sabrina. Horns was able to take down Kadabra with a combination of Fire Blast, Takedown, and Ember. Sabrina sent out Mr. Mime and Horns was able to do half of his life with Fire Blast. Mr. Mime began to use Calm Mind and Horns took a Future Sight attack which prompted me to switch to Chungus. Chungus was able to take out Mr. Mime with Surf and also the Venomoth that she sent out after. She was down to her last Pokemon, her Alakazam. I went for Confuse Ray and Alakazam hit me with a Psychic, which ended up doing little damage. Surf almost killed Alakazam, and since I knew I could survive another Psychic, I can finish her off with a Surf. And just like that, I had 7 gym badges. It was time to get the final gym badge. Given that Chungus has a type advantage on a lot of Pokemon in here, I decided to clear out the whole gym for good XP. This turned out to be a huge mistake as a random Machoke hit me with a Vital Throw that critically hit. Ridiculous. Is it just me or am I getting hit with way too many critical hits? With Chungus gone, I needed to find another Surfer. Thank God I had caught Calamity earlier or I would be in a really bad spot right now. I take Calamity out of the PC and I spent time grinding him up to par. After a lengthy period of time, I was ready to beat Giovanni. Calamity took out both Rhyhorns and Dugtrio with the Surf. Surf left Nidoqueen with a sliver of HP, which let her hit me back with an Earthquake that did well over half of my life. I started to contemplate what I should do as I was a little scared of losing Calamity and wanted to play it safe. I remembered that Tentacruel has pretty good speed and I should be okay to just use Surf. Giovanni ended up healing Nidoqueen and I one-shot it with Surf this time. Giovanni responded by sending out Nidoking, and I know that Nidoqueen is tankier than Nidoking, and if I one-shot her, I should be able to one-shot him too. The problem though is that Nidoking is faster than Nidoqueen, and if I get hit by an Earthquake, I'm easily dead. I decided to go with my gut and risk it to get the biscuit. I did outspeed Nidoking and killed him with Surf. And just like that, I had 8 gym badges. Given how tough the last few fights have been, I spent more time grinding before Victory Road.
2 hours later.
After what was an eternity grinding, here was my team. All of them level 50 except for Ekans Food. I got tired of grinding, and let's be honest, he mostly knows HMs anyways since he's my Cut, Rock Smash, and Strength user. Given that the last rival battle took 2 of my Pokemon out, I was nervous for this one. I led with Zapped because I know he can take out Pidgeot with a Thunderbolt. After killing Pidgeot, Fate sent out his Rhyhorn. I switched to Slipknot and was able to take out Rhyhorn with Giga Drain. In came Growlithe, so I switched to Calamity. Growlithe used Agility on the switch, but it didn't matter as Calamity outsped him and killed him with Surf. Next was Alakazam. I didn't want to risk taking a super effective, critically hit Psychic, so I switched back to Slipknot. Alakazam used Disable on the switch, which did nothing. On the next turn though, he hit me with a Psychic, which did about 75% of Slipknot's HP. I countered with Sleep Powder and was able to put Alakazam to sleep. I switched back to Zapped and was able to take Alakazam out with a couple Thunderbolts. Fate then sent out Gyarados, who was easily dispatched by another Thunderbolt. Then came the Pokemon which caused me so much trouble last time, Venusaur. I actually have a Fire-type Pokemon this time, and I switched to Horns. Razor Leaf ended up doing little damage, and a combination of Fire Blast and Ember finished the job. That had went much better than the last one. I was starting to feel a little confident again. All of my grinding was paying off. Outside of Victory Road, I added to the team an Arbok that I named Citadel. Then it was time to enter Victory Road. I spent quite a bit of time on Victory Road grinding one final time before the Elite Four. I wanted to finish this run, and it was time for victory or defeat. Here was the final team before taking on Lorelei. Zapped, the level 66 Jolteon. Horns, the level 53 Rapidash. Citadel, level 44 Arbok. Slipknot, level 52 Tangela. Ekans Food, level 30 Raticate. And Calamity, level 62 Tentacruel. As you can see, I was hoping to lean on Zapped and Calamity for the majority of these fights. And honestly, I was tired of grinding at this point. It was time to see if I had what it takes. Lorelei led with Dugong, which was killed by a Thunderbolt. Cloyster wasted a turn protecting and then died to another Thunderbolt himself. Next was Slowbro, who I wasn't sure if I would one-shot or not, but I did in fact kill with a single Thunderbolt. 3 down, this was going great. Next up was Lapras. I hit Lapras with a Thunderbolt and she survived with just a couple HP. Lorelei used a full restore and I took Lapras out with a double kick and then a Thunderbolt. She then sent out Jinx, who survived a Thunderbolt and put Zapped to sleep with a lovely kiss. Not wanting to risk Zapped taking any additional damage and maybe even dying, I switched to Horns and was able to finish the battle that way. I knew it was only going to get harder from here on out as I pressed on to Bruno. I led with Calamity, knowing that he would fare better against Bruno's Pokemon. Bruno leads off with an Onix, which I one-shot with Surf. Bruno then sends out another Onix and gets the same result. After that, Bruno sends out Hitmonchan, and I'm fairly sure I would not have one-shot him, but Surf critically hits and I do. In comes Hitmonlee, and Surf does a little over half of his HP. He misses with his Mega Kick, and things are looking great so far. However, Bruno was now sending out his strongest Pokemon, Machamp. I decided to send out Ekans food as a distraction. Machamp uses Bulk Up on the switch, which is not what I wanted to see at all, and then KOs me with a Cross Chop. That Cross Chop did so much damage, it probably KO'd his whole family. I decided to send out Citadel because he knows Glare, and I thought if I could paralyze Machamp, I would feel a lot better. I did outspeed and hit with a Glare, paralyzing Machamp. I decided to switch in Calamity, and Machamp is paralyzed once again. I used Surf, which did a little less than half of Machamp's life, and then Machamp missed with a Cross Chop. I use Hydro Pump on the next turn and finish off Machamp. That went about as well as it could have, other than Ekans food getting demolished. We were halfway through the Elite Four, and my luck had been stellar so far. However, it was time for Agatha. Agatha leads off with a Gengar, and I led off with Calamity. I went for a Hydro Pump, which brought Gengar into the red. On the following turn, Agatha used a full restore on Gengar, and I missed with my Surf. I tried another Hydro Pump and I missed again, to which Gengar followed up with yet another double team. I went back to Surf, and this time I hit, and yet again, Gengar retaliated with double team. I used Surf again on my next turn, hit and killed the Gengar. Agatha then sends out Haunter, and my Surf critically hits and KOs her. Not sure if that would have been a one-shot or not, but oh well. Next up is another Gengar. Again, trying to conserve Calamity as much as possible, I switched to Citadel. I was put to sleep immediately with Hypnosis. I tried to wake up, but I ate a Shadow Ball. I didn't want to switch and let another Pokemon take the impending Shadow Ball, so I ordered Citadel to stand and take it on the chin. Sometimes in war, you have to make sacrifices for the greater good. After the Danger Noodle was killed, I sent out Horns. I take a Sludge Bomb, which hurt quite a bit, and then went for Overheat, which missed. Ouch. I thought for a moment about what I should do, and then decided to switch to Calamity. Gengar used Shadow Ball, which didn't do that much damage to me. I used Hydro Pump, which took Gengar down about 80% or so of his life, to which Gengar responded with Hypnosis. I decided to switch out once again because I didn't want to risk Calamity dying, or I stand no chance against Lance. I brought in Zapped and was hit by a Shadow Ball, which did not deal too much damage. I was able to use Thunderbolt and finish off Gengar. Agatha then sends out Golbat, which also ate a Thunderbolt and died. After that, Agatha sends out her Arbok. I went for a Thunder and missed, to which Arbok retaliated with a Sludge Bomb, dealing quite a bit of damage and poisoning Zapped. Not wanting to lose Zapped, I decided to switch to Slipknot. Slipknot survived the Sludge Bomb on the switch, but was outsped and KO'd by a second one. I sent out Calamity yet again, who was still asleep. I keep trying to wake up turn after turn and failing, eating a Sludge Bomb each time. Eventually, I woke up and hit a Surf, which did over half of Arbok's life. Arbok hit me with a Sludge Bomb, which brought me down to 16 HP, but I was able to kill her on the next turn with a Surf. Wow, that was close. You may recall that I'm not using items in battle. I am, however, using them between battles to heal up my Pokemon. So I have 3 Pokemon left to fight Lance and the champion: Calamity, Zapped, and Horns. I feel confident that Calamity will be able to take out Lance because he knows Ice Beam, but I still need to be cautious. I led with Zapped because I know Lance leads with Gyarados. I was able to outspeed him and KO with a Thunderbolt. Lance then sent out Dragonair and I switched to Calamity. I was able to one-shot Dragonair with Ice Beam, to which Lance replied by sending out another Dragonair. I also one-shotted that Dragonair with Ice Beam. Now, however, it was time for Dragonite. Ice Beam almost KOs Dragonite, and he responds by using Safeguard. Lance uses a few full restores before finally giving in and losing the Dragonite to Ice Beam. Lance's last Pokemon is Aerodactyl. I decide to use Hydro Pump instead of Surf for some reason, and I miss. Aerodactyl uses Wing Attack, which doesn't do much damage, and I kill it on the following turn with Surf. That went pretty well thanks to Calamity. The champion battle though will be much more difficult. His team is well balanced, unlike Lance's. Victory or defeat, it's time for the final battle with Fate. Fate leads off with Pidgeot, and I lead off with Zapped. I use Thunderbolt and I'm able to one-shot the Pidgeot. After that, Fate sends out Rhydon and I decide to switch to Calamity. Rhydon uses Scary Face and I retaliate with a Surf, taking him down. Fate then sent out Alakazam and I switched to Horns. On the switch, Alakazam used Reflect. I decided to go for Bounce and I ate a Psychic on the way up, which did a shit ton of damage. On the way back down, I miss with Bounce, which is just terrible. Now I'm in a really bad spot. I decided to just go for it and hope that Alakazam tries to use Reflect or something. No such luck though, as he quickly KOs the horse. I sent out Zapped, and here's where I make a crucial mistake. Forgetting Alakazam's ability, I used Thunder Wave. Whenever a Pokemon was synchronized as inflicted with a status condition, the opposing Pokemon will also be inflicted with the same condition. Luckily, Alakazam is fully paralyzed twice in a row, and I hit with my second Thunder. Alakazam survives with just a few HP and hits me back with Psychic, doing a little under half of my life. I decide to use Double Kick, and Fate uses a full restore on Alakazam. Because I'm still paralyzed, Alakazam outspeeds me and hits me with a Psychic. Thankfully, my Thunder also hits and I'm able to finish him off. Fate then sends out Gyarados and I hang my head in shame. If Zapped wasn't paralyzed here, I would easily outspeed and KO the Gyarados. I decided that I don't have much of a choice and go for Thunderbolt. But of course, Gyarados is now faster than I am and takes me out with Thrash. Well, it's down to Calamity, the Tentacruel. My best bet for victory is Ice Beam, hoping that I can get lucky and maybe freeze Gyarados. I keep using Ice Beam, which again brings Gyarados to half health, and his return Thrash brings me down to 23 HP, but confuses him due to fatigue. I now need to get extremely lucky. This is where legends are made. It's do or die. Is my victory going to be told around the land, or am I going to be the laughing stock of nobody because nobody watches my videos? I compose myself for a moment, and then I use Ice Beam. Luckily, Gyarados hurts himself with confusion. Unfortunately, the recoil from which brought him into the red, and Fate quickly uses a full restore on Gyarados. I hit Gyarados with Ice Beam, but I don't get the freeze. Now I'm out of Ice Beams and out of time. I use Acid, hoping for some miracle, but I don't get one. I am hit back with Thrash and KO'd. Had I not forgotten about Alakazam's synchronized ability, I could have realistically won the battle. Calamity could have probably taken out Arcanine and Venusaur. That was it. I made it to the champion and was defeated. My Nuzlocke has ended in failure.